Today on the show, there's been a 3-month time skip in our news coverage, so we're here to talk about that hot, dirty, filthy, sweaty gossip. Brought to you on a day that feels very much like Arrakis here in New York City.
Oh my God, it's so hot.
It's really fucking hot.
I'm going to put on my still suit before I go outside.
Yeah. Conserve that water and that pee.
Specifically, yeah. That's what they always tell them right when they're going down to the desert. Hey, Paul, preserve that water and that pee.
What? Still,
all right,
you didn't have to
Thufir,
say
Jesus.
it weirdly like that.
God, Thufir's so fucking weird about pee.
All right.
Welcome to Gom Jabbar, your guide to the iconic world of Dune. We will be exploring the themes, philosophies, and characters found in the sandy depths of this vast universe, from Frank Herbert's groundbreaking novels to the adaptations on film and TV. My name is Leo.
And my name's Abu.
Oh, and today we're back on our news coverage. We are pounding the pavement, gathering the details. We got our bell in our hand, and we are crying out in the town square.
Right. Is that a reference to something? That went over my head.
Hear ye.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. I was thinking 1920s. I don't know when town criers got fired.
I see. Town criers are news to you. Because in my head, we were 5 o'clock news anchors, like on a normal broadcast.
Yeah.
Breaking news tonight.
Yeah.
Are your children safe? No.
Some of the things we're talking about are like 3 months old. Breaking news. We are late to this story.
All right. Well, before we get into the not breaking news, quick bit of housekeeping, folks.
Yes.
Regarding spoilers today, no spoilers. We won't be talking about any plot details from any of the Dune books.
Indeed.
So you are safe to listen to this episode wherever you happen to be in your Dune journey.
Amazing. It's true. And as always, a huge shout out to our Kwisatz Haderach level patrons, Case Aiken, Matthew, Good.
Gentlemen, the only panel of experts I want to see on TV news is the one discussing how generous you two are and how it's even possible for two human beings to contain such generosity.
Yeah. We collected experts. They all said it was impossible. But here you are, defying experts. Thank you. And thank you to all of our patrons who make what we do possible. Seriously. We couldn't put the time into this podcast that we do without your support. So
Indeed. Thank you so much. All right. So here's the game plan for today's news-focused episode.
Right.
We will be spending this conversation covering some of the news surrounding the upcoming Dune film, the Dune Sisterhood TV show, as well as some of the updates with where the Dune video games currently are, and what's new with the latest Dune books out there.
Yeah.
So our hope is to get you up to date on all things going on in the Duneverse, and of course, along the way, share our own thoughts and analysis and bad jokes.
We literally cannot help it. 120-something episodes in, we still cannot help it.
The jokes are still bad. So before we jump in, let's take a quick break. But don't go anywhere, folks, because when we come back, we're getting into this juicy, juicy news.
Indeed. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your break. Let's start off by talking movie news.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the movie.
Part 2.
Part 2. So, happy to say, no change yet on the release date. So, as of this episode going live, 189 days left, but who's counting? All of us, and also a Twitter account. November 3rd, 2023 is still the date for the upcoming Dune movie. Knock on Fogwood.
Indeed.
That doesn't change.
Yes. That is the date, despite the fact that some of y'all, like myself, might have been fooled by those fake tweets on April 1st.
Oh my
those April
God.
Fool's jokes where people were like, Dune has been delayed 6 months. And I was like,
lost my fucking mind.
wow. My heart dropped right into my stomach the second I saw that tweet. And then I remembered what day it was. And I was like, I hate April Fools every year.
Special shout out to, was it Robert?
I think Robert Pierce posted that in our Discord as well. Just
You
to scare
bastard,
everyone
Robert.
in our Discord. Yeah.
I couldn't deal with it. But yes, thank goodness that was just jokes.
Indeed. So, to start off our Dune movie news coverage, we want to get a little petty along with David Lynch. Because
Sure. Yeah.
in an interview with Cars du Cinema,
Yeah.
some French publication or thing, I don't know what that is, but in an interview, basically, David Lynch has said that he doesn't intend on ever watching Denis Villeneuve's adaptation.
Cool.
In fact, here is exactly what he said. Quote, "I will never watch it, and I don't even want you to tell me about it ever." End quote.
Cool. What a great guy. What a lovely, supportive
gosh.
artist who, recognizes that sometimes you fuck up and make a bad movie.
Yeah.
But you don't take it personally, and you don't get weird and defensive and shitty about it. Oh, wait, he's doing all of that.
He's doing
strange.
exactly that, actually.
Wait,
Yeah.
now that I think about it, he's being awful. Oh,
Right.
strange.
Very strange. This also reminds me of Jodorowsky, who we also talked about his reaction to Villeneuve's film,
Right.
which was a little more Jodorowsky in nature. He watched it and went, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember the exact quote, but he went something along the lines of, ugh, this is so boring and so Hollywood and not the weird avant-garde shit that I wanted to do. That was his reaction, but at least he watched it and had an opinion on it.
Right.
David Lynch out here is like, never bring that within 10 feet of me, which is just petty and kind of sad.
Also, I'm not 100% sure, but the gas guys who vacuum up the gas after the scene with Baron Harkonnen and Leto Atreides.
Oh, yes.
The gas guys who kind of look like Among Us
Right.
Us guys.
Right.
They look like the Sardaukar soldiers from Lynch's movie.
Yep.
So I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like Villeneuve kind of tipped his hat to everything that Lynch put together.
Yeah.
And everyone knows it wasn't solely Lynch's fault, although knowing more about the movie now that we've talked about it at length, I'm like, 5 drafts of the script?
Right.
And you still had, my name is a killing word. Oh, saw! Couldn't do better than that?
Right.
Wow. Anyway,
Yeah.
glad to know he's not interested in this fantastic movie we all love.
Yes. Yeah. I now will be sending letters to his home describing in detail Denis Villeneuve's film.
Yeah. Oh, that's
and
great.
one of those letters will eventually get through.
The first letter is just scene 1, exterior. Ship arrives on cloudy planet.
Exactly. It's just the screenplay in 47 parts.
He sent 1,000 letters. Well, let's move on from that pettiness.
Yeah.
In a masterclass at Qatar's Doha Film Institute, Jacqueline West, who, if you don't know the name, handled the costume design of Dune and will be doing the costume design again for Dune 2.
Right.
Phenomenal work. Shared some really exciting words about this upcoming sequel. This is pretty recent.
Mm-hmm.
So she talked a lot about her work. She worked on The Revenant, if anybody's seen that movie. Leonardo DiCaprio fighting a bear is what most people remember. She also worked on The Killers of the Flower Moon, which is an upcoming Scorsese movie. And then she talked about her work on Dune.
Right.
And talking about Dune Part Two, she emphasized that this movie in particular is a lot more labor intensive than Part 1 was. And here's the direct quote from that masterclass. Quote, "In Part 2, you really dive into the different worlds of Dune. We see what the Emperor's world looks like. We go to his planet. We spend a lot of time on Giedi Prime, the Harkonnen planet. We spend a lot of time in Stellan Skarsgård's, Vladimir Harkonnen, world. Fade Rautha, Harkonnen, also comes into this one brilliantly played by Austin Butler. He is pretty fabulous in it. End quote.
Okay.
Which, hey,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for one, I like that she specifically called out Austin Butler having a good, that's just that he does a good job in the movie.
Right.
I've seen a lot of interviews with Austin after he won for Elvis, didn't he?
He got the Golden Globe for it, I think.
He won the
but
Golden
not the
Globe.
Oscar.
He was nominated for the Oscar, right?
Right.
Didn't win the Oscar, but won the Golden Globe for it. He has since then sounded exactly like Elvis in every fucking interview ever. And he's all like, oh yeah, no, I'm not even doing anything with my voice. And everyone's like, you very clearly are. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, I damaged my vocal folds. And they're like, that doesn't affect your accent. Like, what are you talking about? He actually like says, he's like, oh, I'm kind of stuck in the voice. And he told reporters at the Golden Globes, quote, I don't think I sound like him. Sorry. I don't think I sound like him still, but I guess I must because I hear it a lot. End quote.
Uh-huh.
And then there have been hilarious videos on TikTok and YouTube of people talking about like, it's that Paul Muad'Dib. I'll defeat Paul.
Honestly?
Paul Conley. I declare Conley.
I declare. That's hilarious. You do a really good Elvis voice, by the way. I've
Thanks,
never
I'm a
heard
voice
you do
actor.
that impression. That's
I don't think I've ever done it.
wow. Props to you.
But it is very funny. And I was a little worried that his affect from Elvis would like be a little distracting if it's at all present in Dune.
Yeah.
But it sounds like she's not like brilliantly played, except for the accent. She
Right.
seems to be supportive, which is really great.
Right. And her even mentioning it makes me think there's perhaps quite a bit of fade in part 2.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
totally.
why mention it if he has like 2 scenes, you know?
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
Even we spend a lot of time in the Harkonnen world, right? We spend a lot of time on Giddy Prime, is the
Right.
direct quote.
Right.
Fuck yeah. That
Hell
sounds
yeah.
great. And then finally, she does go on to talk about the contrast that they're building between the different worlds and cultures. So she's saying we're going to see a lot more of the Dune universe. And then she talks about the contrast. Quote, all the worlds get expanded. It was about creating 3 separate, different-looking worlds and also revisiting the Bene Gesserits, the age-old ones with these costumes that almost look like Egyptian mummies. I think it's visually stunning, the sets, the cinematography, and the concepts. End quote.
That's fun.
Yeah, good Lord. That sounds great. Now, coming out of that, having shared those things,
Right.
Abu, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking?
Well, like I said, I'm very excited that she name dropped Austin Butler in particular. Makes me feel like we're going to get much more Harkonnen, much more fade in this film.
Yeah.
I'm also very excited by that second quote you shared. This idea of 3 separate, different looking worlds.
Yeah.
That's a compliment that we gave to the Dune sci-fi adaptation
Yeah.
for having
yeah.
really incredible, distinct sets
Right.
for every single one of the planets and locations and giving them their own identity. Knowing that they're treating this locations and planets similarly in the film makes me excited to visit them and see them. Like, I hope we get to see Kyton in the Royal Palace, and I hope we get to see the parts of Giddy Prime that aren't just like the dark interiors where the Baron is taking a bath.
Yeah. I want to see the industrial city.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope we zoom out a bit more on Giddy Prime as well, so we can see more of it. Because I think as good as part 1 was, it like 70% took place on Arrakis, and the beginning 20% was Caladan, and then the remaining 10% was just like small, short interior scenes here and there.
Right.
And so it'll be nice to get a bit more variation here in part 2, because the Dune universe, as we know, is expansive.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you? Anything stick out from Jacqueline's quotes here?
I mean, I was thinking the same thing. You know, with the sci-fi miniseries, it feels good when distinctive planets feel distinctive.
Yeah. So
I'm really excited for that. That's a great point. And I'm relieved that that's something that she brings up. I mean, as a costume designer, of course, she's working with a very particular part of the overall look. But for her to also shout out, like, man, the sets and the cinematography is amazing.
Yeah.
That's a fan of Dune talking about this movie that she's seen already that we haven't seen. So
right. Ugh, I'm so jealous.
I'm so fucking jealous. Jacqueline West. That is your real name. Yeah, it's a good sign. And actually, I think you're also spot on with I'm excited to see Fade. We've talked a lot about how Fade is very important because he is in many ways a counterpoint to Paul.
Right.
So to see him and to spend time with him and to have him played by this charismatic guy, Austin Butler, I think is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, so the last bit of Dune movie news that we have is actually a bit tangential.
Yeah.
We've learned that John Spates, who co-wrote Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2 with Denis Villeneuve, has been recently tapped to write the Gears of War screenplay with Netflix.
Hey.
Which could be fun.
Sure.
I don't know if you're a Gears fan, but I grew up playing a lot of Gears as a kid.
Oh, wow.
Gears 1, 2, 3, the original trilogy, some of my favorite games out there growing up. I haven't revisited the Gears franchise in a long time. I really never played anything past 3. But we are living in the age of the great video game adaptation, weirdly enough.
Yeah,
Last of Us.
Oh my God.
Super Mario Brothers, I guess.
Haven't seen it yet, but apparently it's
apparently it's pretty decent. Yeah, I've heard that too. So we are sort of living in a nerd golden age of like the video games we grew up playing, or even not even grew up playing, but loved playing recently in the last decade or so.
Right.
Hollywood has taken note and has decided to adapt them. So here's yet again another example, and John Spates is attached to the Gears of War project.
Yeah.
So we'll see what comes of it.
You know, it's one of those things. I'm always curious to see, you know, and Dune Part 1, we loved.
Yeah.
And all of my complaints were like things that weren't in the movie, and the movie was already really fucking long. So like that's not even a valid complaint at the end of the day. So I loved it. I loved the first movie. I'm curious to kind of get a sense of John Spates' talents outside of the trio that he was working with in Dune Part 1.
Yeah.
Right? Like he was working with Villeneuve, he was working with Eric Roth. So I'm curious to see, okay, he's working on this Gears of War. How familiar is it going to feel in its writing and in its kind of pacing and all of that?
Yeah, interesting.
That always kind of interests me because I do have a hard time sometimes separating out, you know, it takes a village to make one of these projects.
Absolutely.
So when someone like John Spates is tapped to do something else, I'm like, oh, I wonder if it's going to feel familiar. And you're right that, you know, with The Last of Us especially, just one of the most incredible, and also Arcane, right? Like people are doing game
Arcane
media the right way sometimes now, which we couldn't say 10 years ago.
Right.
So I don't know Gears of War even remotely, but I think that it is a popular franchise for a reason. And I think that all video games offer some real artistic narrative value that was not appreciated 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And to have a very seasoned writer, that's the right move. Get a good writer, get a good director, because the problem in the past is you have like kind of nobodies working on these things because the studios don't want to shell out money on a thing they think is going to fail.
Right.
So putting John Spates on it, I'm like, okay, cool. Netflix is investing in this.
Right.
Good. So
it's like, oh, you just recently worked on an Oscar-winning blockbuster. You want to work for us? You know, it's they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Right.
And it, at least this news, bodes well for the Gears project. But I couldn't agree more that a lot of creative work is a mix of many minds, many people, a whole village of creatives coming together, and all of their energy and creativity and passion being blended into one delicious fucking smoothie, you know?
Yeah.
And the taste of that smoothie is a combination of all of those things. It is rare, very, very rare, that a single person at the helm is responsible for the taste of the whole smoothie.
Right.
And so I, just like you, will be interested to see what kind of team they build around John and this production to make this Gears of War film happen.
So, kind of transitioning out of talking about the movie and talking about the team that people build around a production.
Indeed, indeed.
Let's talk about the TV show. So we've talked about this a few times, right?
Yes.
There's a TV show coming out, Dune Sisterhood. It's based on the Brian Herbert, Kevin J. Anderson novel. It's going to HBO is the streaming platform it's going to be on. We started off pretty excited about it, you know, even though it's based on Brian Herbert book that neither of us are fans of. It's still more Dune.
Right.
Like it's still Dune stuff. It's I remember reading that it was meant to kind of fit into the aesthetic of Villeneuve's like established universe.
Right.
So I was excited to see more of that universe, which I think looks so good and feels so vibrant and fun. But it's been going through some tumult. It's been experiencing tumult,
to say the least.
And we're sorry to say that pattern of the fraught production timeline is continuing, and it is currently on pause.
So here's the latest update with the Sisterhood series.
Yeah.
One of the stars of the show, Shirley Henderson, one of the two leads,
aka Moaning Myrtle,
for the Harry Potter fans out there,
right,
has left the show, has stepped away. And the director, Johan Renck, who is famously known for having directed Chernobyl, the incredible show Chernobyl, has also left the production. Two huge exits from this production as they were getting underway.
Yeah.
And at this point, we're told that the whole show has screeched to a halt, basically, while they are looking for replacements for both a lead actor and a director.
Yeah.
Which is a tough look.
Yeah.
And in fact, we have, you don't have to take our word for it, we have an official statement from an HBO representative reported by Deadline. Quote, "There are some creative changes being made to the production in an effort to create the best series possible and stay true to the source material. Johan Renck has completed his work on the series and a new director will be brought on through mutual agreement. Johan is moving on to pursue other projects. Additionally, Shirley Henderson will be exiting the series and will no longer be playing Tula Harkonnen." End quote.
Yeah. So it's been known that they were going to do multiple directors for multiple episodes, and I think the initial plan was for Johan Renck to do the first 2 episodes.
I think so, yeah.
And I know that they started production in November, but they say that he completed his work, but I was also like, multiple times it's mentioned that it was like midway through and there was a creative difference.
Right. And I imagine so much of that work has to be redone because one of your leads has now left.
One of the leads.
You got to redo all the scenes that she was in.
Fly everyone back to Budapest. You got to get back to work. And actually, in the same article, Deadline reports that, according to their sources, unnamed sources, although production and shooting had begun in Budapest back in November, quote, "Renck's auteur approach did not jibe with the streamer's vision for the series and was a departure from the look of Denis Villeneuve's films, which led to his departure." End quote.
Interesting.
So, opposed to the, like, he finished his work as planned, we're good. This is, he worked on it, and his look was not vibing with HBO.
Right.
HBO didn't necessarily like what he was doing, so they, on a mutual agreement, decided to part ways.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's much more tea to be spilled behind the scenes outside of what Deadline reported here and what their sources told and what the official statement is from the HBO representative.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look good.
It does not.
It simply doesn't look good. I mean, Deadline also pointed out that sources close to the production said this, like, quote unquote break that they're taking and filming right now was planned from the start.
Right. Yeah.
But also others have suggested that actually, no, this break, this quote unquote pre-planned break, is a direct reaction to literally losing the director and your lead actor, one of your 2 lead actors.
Right.
And again, so there's some conflicting reports as to the big why of it all. And I'm sure there's much more drama behind the scenes that we may or may not ever learn about.
Yeah.
But the gist is that the production has hit a huge bump in the road and has come to a screeching halt at the moment. And who knows where it goes from there. What are your thoughts on the latest about the Sisterhood series?
Yeah. Okay. I think every good part of that statement from HBO sounds like damage control.
Yes.
It sounds like they are, like, desperately trying to maintain any sense of positive momentum, like a perception of momentum among the, lay people. And then it sounds like HBO is also getting very directly involved in the artistic vision of the director, which is also not a good sign. We often see that being a thing that causes the director to not be happy with their work. And I think everyone's happiest when a director like Johan Renck
Right.
has the freedom to do his fucking job and not be beholden to like, well, that doesn't look like Villeneuve. I love Villeneuve's look, but if he's going to deliver something that's incredible and like beautiful and different, fucking whatever.
You also, in a TV production, you also hire a director to do your first couple episodes on purpose because you want that director's DNA to establish the look and feel of your show. Right. And then so the other directors you hire on for later episodes or seasons then just follow a template that's been established by the OG.
Right.
So when you hire a well-respected, talented, award-winning director like Johan Renck, you are supposedly doing that on purpose to allow him to establish the tone, voice, style of the show.
Yeah.
And not so you can box him into a certain look. you know?
It doesn't make sense.
That's just how TV productions work. Like House of Cards looks like House of Cards because David Fincher directed the first episode and established the look, feel, tone, pacing, and all of the things that other directors came in and followed the formula. So very weird that they're having creative differences with the guy that is supposed to establish all of those things.
Yeah. They hired a painter and he started painting. They're like, no, we don't like you painting. No, it's like, oh, why the fuck did you hire me? He made Chernobyl. Trust him. He's great.
Right.
He's so good.
Very
and also,
true.
So broadly, I'm still interested. I'll still watch it. I'm still curious. I want to see more of it. But it's my interest is really, it's becoming more of like a morbid curiosity, expecting to watch this train wreck unfurl. But I'm almost thinking maybe we'll never see it. Maybe it'll never get made.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in exactly the same boat. And I'm also sort of the mind that we may actually never see this show. It might just be doomed never to get off the ground.
Right.
And if it does, like my hype is at an all-time low and dropping by the day. And I think, unfortunately, if and when it does release, I don't have high hopes based on this production. Maybe there's a miracle that'll turn things around. Maybe Denis Villeneuve will come in and direct the first 2 episodes or something. But those all seem like far-fetched things. This production seems like a bit of a mess, and morbidly curious, I think you put it. And I think that's exactly the feeling.
You know, maybe this will get axed. It won't happen.
Yeah.
And then with some headroom in the Dune IP space, we'll get a new original thing.
I mean, they could find 2 young, handsome, Dune-obsessed podcasters out there, maybe?
Yeah. Maybe throw some of that money towards an official Dune podcast.
Right. I mean, not even podcasts. Like, I don't know. They could potentially hand these 2 young, handsome men a blank check.
Sure.
To create...
Period. Yeah.
Create any Dune-related property for HBO that they want to. We've pitched our Dune HBO shows on this podcast before. I'd love to create one of those instead of whatever this mess is going to be.
I've pitched like 6 different shows and they'd all be fucking awesome. So, yes, good point.
Just a thought, HBO.
Well, we're going to talk about the game news, the news about the video games, in just a minute. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break. So, don't go anywhere. We're back with some hot gaming news just after this.
Welcome back, folks. Let's continue our Dune news coverage and talk about the video games. So at the moment, there are 2 games that we're keeping our eyes on. Dune Spice Wars, which is an RTS, real-time strategy game that is out now in early access. Both of us have played it. And Dune Awakening, which is a open-world survival MMO game that has been announced, but is not out to play yet.
Right.
When it comes to Dune Spice Wars, things have been fairly quiet. We covered a lot of those updates in our last Distrans episode. Not much more to say beyond that.
Right.
My gut feeling is they are prepping for like an official 1.0 public launch and coming out of early access. So things are probably quiet as they're getting ready for that.
Totally. When
it comes to Dune Awakening, though, the MMO that's still in development, there have been a couple of fun updates. They've actually been releasing regular quote-unquote Shigawire reels on their channels.
Yeah.
And these little videos, they're all like little 30, 40-second video clips, show what are potentially elements of the game that we can look forward to once we can get our hands on it.
Right. Yeah.
Some of the like features or characters or locations that we might be able to play in the game itself.
Right.
Now, as far as when the game comes out and where it comes out, nothing official on that. All we know is that, again, it's an open world MMO releasing on PC, PS5, Xbox, and that we don't have a release date. What we do know from the official Discord is that they're aiming to go into a beta testing period sometime this year.
Yeah.
So at the very least, we will get our hands on the game. If we can get beta access, we will be able to play it in 2023.
Indeed. Which is super exciting. You know, game development can take years and years and years. So having only heard about it, you know, not so long ago, I was a little worried that this would be like a 2025 sort of thing. But it does seem like they're trying to kind of capitalize on this momentum that all of Dune is experiencing with Villeneuve's movies.
Yeah, for sure. So you and I both watched all these Shigawire reels and watched all the footage that they released. I'm curious, anything that stood out to you from the minor footage that they've showed so far?
Yeah, you know, so there are 8 reels, and some of them are just about the Dune universe. They're like, there are 2 moons on Arrakis. And I'm like, thanks. Right. That's not gameplay. That's nothing to do with your fucking video game. That's just planetary knowledge. Like one was like, Muad'Dib is a mouse. I was like, thanks.
Right.
Really, this could have been
nice to see
email.
that they have the mouse in the game, though. Fun little touch.
That's fun. A gerboa. A little Arakeen gerboa.
Yeah.
So I liked any of the things that seemed to have like direct relationship to gameplay mechanics. So they talked about building. You can build bases on solid rock. If you build it on sand, sandworms will destroy it. I thought that was cool. The like underground villages looked really cool. Like just like the ambiance looked really cool.
Yeah.
I also just, you know, enjoy the ornithopters. Like the idea of getting a character and putting them in an ornithopter and like flying somewhere on Arrakis, fucking awesome. Like that's for me worth price of admission, kind of whatever admission is.
Yeah.
And then adding to that, you've talked about some crafting, some whatever that someone asked in the Discord, will we be able to ride worms? And they said, as of launch, no, but we'll look into it once we've launched. And I'm like, yeah, that would be pretty fucking chaotic if you allowed MMO people to ride huge sandworms around the planet.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just the fucking chaos?
It could be a fun, like, quick travel mechanic, though. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it could be like when you're in the desert and you need to travel from one siege to the other, kind of in a World of Warcraft-esque way, where you, like, get on the griffin and it flies you to the next location.
Yeah.
You, like, just get on the local sandworm and it worms you to the next siege.
It's a worm stop.
It's a
and
worm
they're like,
stop.
the next worm anticipated in 14 minutes. Please stand clear of the giant maw.
Yeah. And somehow it's still better than the New York subway and more accurate and reliable.
Somehow, yeah. Chance of dying on the subway actually lower if it's a giant sandworm. Yeah, no, it's a good point. That would also allow them to make the desert truly huge. Yeah. Because, like, if you have the option to like run out into the desert and kind of do like an on-foot exploration, or they had a little one-man ground car, which is kind of cool, like a little personal vehicle.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, that's kind of fun. Means that you can cover big distances, allows for the universe and the world to be bigger and more fleshed out to give players that mobility. So
Completely.
That's cool. I'm excited for that. And you're right. If the desert were huge, if Arrakis was huge, something like a sandworm mechanic to get from Arakeen to Carthage, you know, in just a couple of minutes would be very, very cool. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm excited whenever they're like, here's a ground car, or there are day-night cycles, and, you know, these are villages, the exchange, you know, the merchant. These are things that I think will be in the game, and I'm excited to see. What about you? Anything kind of jump out at you from these 8 mini films?
I generally agree. Like, it was fun to be like, oh, look, cute. It's the Muad'Dib mouse. They put that in the game. For me, the things that jumped out were more just like the small lore things that they're being fairly accurate about, which is fun to see.
Sure, yeah.
And my sort of approach with the game is very similar. I think I expressed this opinion in our last Distrans as well, but I am not a big MMO player. Like, I never got into World of Warcraft as a kid, and I just like generally don't have the time or the patience for MMO type games. But again, the setting of this game would speak to my heart in a way where I think I'd really have fun with it. and I'm certainly intrigued, but I'm going to hold out any hype until we see real gameplay, because even these little Shigawire reels on their YouTube channel are just like stills from their pre-alpha footage trailer that they showed.
Yeah.
So it's still not real gameplay, and it's still not even...
Yeah.
I'm still not even certain that it's anything beyond just conceptual. Like, oh, we built out a marketplace because it looks cool in this trailer, but who knows if that's what the marketplaces in the game will be like. So
it all looks very cinematic. Like, it all looks very like this is a one-off animation and not...
Right. That we built for the trailer or something. And again, you know, games go through many phases of conceptualization that don't end up in the final game. But I will withhold my hype and my judgment until we see like that first real gameplay trailer.
Yeah.
But again, hesitantly excited for this. I am a gamer, and so it will be hard not to have this on my radar as we get closer to that beta period.
I'll also say it's nice that... Shiro Games made Spice Wars, but Funcom is a part of it. And Funcom also, you know, they have this official Discord. And if it's going to be anything like Spice Wars, right? Spice Wars went into early access, and then immediately there was a channel for feedback. And it was wild. I mean, people were giving really great feedback, like balanced feedback and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they were implementing that feedback very quickly. So it was cool to see how reactive the devs were in making the game good for the people who were playing it. And I think that is always better than the alternative. You know, Callisto Protocol was a game I played recently, and I was so excited for it because I loved Dead Space, but they didn't let anybody play it before launch day. They didn't let any reviewers play it. And sure enough, playing the game, it was like, okay, this has good elements, but it's kind of clunky and bad.
Yeah.
So going into early access, in some way, it allows them to like partially fund their game. It also does make them accountable to people playing the game. And if people who buy early access, who are going to be the diehard fans, hate it,
right,
that's bad press immediately. And that can kill the project.
Right.
So I am glad for how they're handling it. And I'm excited to see more and then be able to offer, you know, as you and I are both like crazy Dune fans, to be able to offer our feedback in the Discord or wherever, and then hopefully be heard is cool.
Yep, completely.
Well, that's it for gaming news. Let's talk about books and any kind of final miscellaneous little bits.
Yeah.
And this starts off, actually, I'm really excited about this. I think this looks fucking phenomenal. On April 6th, we got word from Gizmodo reported, on a new photo book called Dune Part 1, The Photography, which is currently available for pre-order and will be released on July 25th, 2023. And that the selling price is $60 at the moment.
Right.
Now, the book is a curated selection from the thousands and thousands and thousands of photographs that, and I'm going to mess up her name, I'm so sorry. I think it's Chiabella. It's like a very Italian-looking name, Chiabella. Chiabella James, maybe? Chiabella? I don't know. Miss James, the incredible photographer, who actually shot a lot of the promo photography that we saw.
Very cool.
That first shot of Oscar Isaac with his beard and the armor that were like,
the
we
iconic,
saw. Fucking amazing. That was one of her shots.
Ah, cool.
And so a lot of her photography is really beautiful. I've seen a couple of the samples from the pre-order page, and it looks so good. It's kind of an accompanying piece to the Art and Soul of Dune book that they released about production.
Yeah.
We get a description actually from the Amazon page. The book, quote, compiles the most compelling photos to form a remarkable visual journey that fully captures the unique spirit of the production, encompassing the epic vistas witnessed on location shoots through to candid moments between Villeneuve and key cast members.
Fun.
End quote. This sounds great.
Yeah.
And again, the little picture examples I think look absolutely stunning. How do you feel about this? Are you excited? You gonna get it?
This looks like a super fun collector's item and a cool look behind the scenes on a film set, you know, for a film that we love so much.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll get it because I'm not much of a collector of sorts. And, you know, it looks like a fun thing to have, but I generally don't collect things.
Sure.
I don't know why. It's not in my nature. Maybe I'll talk about her in therapy next week.
Sure.
But I know that you can't help yourself when it comes to Dune stuff. And so I suspect you've already pre-ordered anywhere from 1 to 12 copies of this.
You know what? I have been doing a lot of personal growth recently. I've been really working on myself. I will be ordering 12 copies, but I haven't yet. It's the best I can do. No, I will absolutely get a copy. I also just love photography, and I do some photography, and I teach photography sometimes. So like, to see some of this photography, which is so beautiful, and then of these cast characters that I now care so much about, and in this universe, I'm very excited. I'm 100% sold.
Nice.
And so, open note to anybody who's part of our Discord, feel free to hit me up after the 25th of July, and I'll let you know my impressions.
For sure.
If you want to get it.
For sure. All right, moving on from that, a very quick piece of news from Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson. Their upcoming novel, called Princess of Dune, is now available for pre-order. By the time this episode releases, the pre-order will be live. You'll be able to jump into that if that's your thing. I think it's pretty well established on the podcast here that we're not the biggest Brian and Kevin fans.
Right.
And it's certainly not a book that I'll be pre-ordering, but we want to do our due diligence. This is part of the Duneverse.
Yeah.
And folks out there might be looking forward to this. So that pre-order is live. You can get your hands on it. I think as far as my own thoughts go, I don't have much to say here except something we've said before on this podcast, which is would love to open up that property to other talented writers, artists, creators.
Yes.
And let them play around in the Dune universe.
Yeah. Literally profit share. You can still earn your money.
Yes.
You can still have your profit. You can still have your income. You don't even have to do the work. Just sell out the IP to other authors because it works for Star Wars. It could work for Dune.
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you there. Yeah, it sucks that, this is a new Dune book and it's not more exciting because it's like talking about Irulan and I think Chani. I read the synopsis. It sounds like another book that he's trying to fit into an already very congested timeline.
Right.
Even, okay, hey, Brian, Kevin, write a new Dune book. Sure, do it. But write about something that's not the fucking cast of established characters.
Right.
That you're then having to jump through hoops to make sure they're consistent and failing and writing them weird and not the way that Frank wrote them.
Right.
This wouldn't be a problem if you wrote about the Empalaros. Free book idea. Tell us a story about the Empalaros. That would be phenomenal. Tell us a story about Portrin in those early days. Leave out the machines and the robots.
Right.
Just tell us about the fucking planet Portrin.
Yeah.
Tell us about, there was that planet that the Zinsuni were on that disappeared. Tell us about that fucking planet. There are so many stories that haven't been told in the Dune universe that don't directly step on prime canon. Tell those stories.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's changing.
No.
I mean, the most recent trilogy that Brian and Kevin have released, I think were called Duke of Kaladin, Lady of Kaladin, Heir of Kaladin, which are understandably about Leto, Jessica, Ball. Again, prime characters that are already well established by Frank and his stories. I think we've said our piece on that, but that book and that pre-order are available for the folks who are excited for it. And don't allow our opinions, just 2 opinions, to detract from your excitement if you are looking forward to it.
And listen, if you keep supporting us here in Gom Jabbar, we will eventually talk about that book. And I've made a personal vow to myself to be as nice as possible to those books when we start reading them. Open-minded. Because as much as I have my impressions, ultimately I do hear things about some of the books I haven't read that they're broadly good. So if and when we talk about Brian's books, I'll be civil and I'll be open-minded.
For sure.
So if you want us to talk about that, let us know. If you pick it up and you read it and you liked it, let us know.
Yeah.
It's always nice to hear. And my understanding is they've gotten maybe better. Maybe. Who knows? But what we do know is another bit of news.
Whoa, great segue.
Thank you. I kind of just said, also, here's another thing. As of early
Another
April.
great segue.
Hey, I'm killing it today. I segued twice to the same thing. As of early April, you can now get a deluxe 3-book hardcover boxed set
Ooh.
of the Dune the first 3 books of Dune.
Right.
So Dune, Dune Messiah, Children of Dune, and good fucking Lord, they're beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it didn't cost $150, I would have already ordered it.
Pre-ordered 12 of them, you know?
I pre-ordered 90 of them. And to be clear, the paperback editions that are in the background of both of our shots right now.
Yeah, actually look at the video
out,
of this podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. Were designed by Jim Tierney, I think his name is.
Mm-hmm.
And phenomenal job. They're iconic, they're illustrative, they're beautiful. I love them.
Yeah.
I really do. I think these prints are just gorgeous. But this new box set hardcover is designed by Matt Griffin. Now, I remember seeing the hardcover of Dune, the first book, and being like, holy shit, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. The glowing blue eyes, the like intense silhouette. It's such an iconic looking cover.
Yeah. It really catches your eye on like a Barnes & Noble bookshelf, you know? I remember being at Barnes & Noble one day and just stopping and being like, what the fuck? You know? Do I need to buy that?
Honey, wake up, a new Dune just dropped. Wait, it's the same book? It doesn't matter. I'll buy it anyway. It's beautiful.
Boo, stop. You're blowing our life savings.
Yeah.
I want to buy a house. No, we'll keep renting. Well, I need more Dune shit.
We'll build a house out of Dune books. It'll be great. The best written house you'll ever live in. Yeah, but these hardcover editions, in addition to just the covers looking beautiful, they're super incredibly designed. Like, they're bold, they're beautiful. And these deluxe editions actually feature, quote, iconic new covers, stained edges, stamped and foiled cases featuring quotes from the litany against fear, fully illustrated end papers, and illustrated poster on the interior of each jacket, end quote.
Wow, that's a lot of art, folks.
And I've seen, again, there are pictures, there are previews. Looks incredible.
Yes.
I will be buying it. It's just one of those expenses that it takes me a second to hit the order button.
Right.
But what do you think? Are you, again, not a collector? You've established.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I will say I do want to shout out Jim Tierney.
Sure.
I have the Ace paperback editions of Frank's 6 books, and I love the art that he did. And the minimalist, bright, flat look of it is such my vibe.
But it's textured. It's not boring. It's not. Yeah, it's visually interesting.
And there's like subtle references to like Dune things and imagery that's very Dune. It's very, very, very good. So I do want to shout out Jim Tierney. But that doesn't detract from the work that Matt Griffin is doing for the hardcover books. They look absolutely gorgeous as well. And again, I was in Barnes & Noble and looked over, and Paul Atreides' blue eyes were peering into my soul. It's really beautiful work.
Yeah.
And he did really gorgeous art for the Messiah book and for Children of Dune as well, the 3 that you get in this box set. Again, not a collector, so I don't really have an urge to buy another copy of a book that I already own.
Right.
But these are definitely a cool option for folks who do want to collect, or for folks who don't own Dune but listen to this podcast.
It happens. We get people who write in and they say, I've never read the books, but I like the movie and enjoy your podcast.
Yeah, so, for sure. Yeah. So it's definitely this box set is definitely a cool option for folks out there that may not own copies or just want to collect more copies of it.
Yeah.
What about you? Any thoughts on that beautiful art that you saw?
I mean, the art's incredible. I also just love the subtle, like the pages are all stained the same color as spice. It's that kind of like turquoise blue, which is just beautiful. It makes them look really distinctive. And I haven't really ever been a collector except for Dune stuff. So it's unfortunate that all this expensive Dune shit keeps getting released. I also, in the process of researching this episode, discovered 3 different series of toys that I don't have any of. And I was like, maybe soon. Maybe I'll give myself that as a birthday present or something. But in any case, I will be getting this. And if you follow us on TikTok, because we're on TikTok, it's Gom Jabbar Podcast, keep an eye out for whenever it delivers. I'll put it in the background of my my layout, my little like TikTok background. So keep an eye out in upcoming clips. But yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. Again, I think these books, the words are all works of art, so why not make the rest of it? Absolutely.
And look what happens when you let cool artists play around in the Dune universe.
It's almost as if
case and point.
HBO's like, I'm sorry, that doesn't look like a Villeneuve's adaptation. They're like, we didn't even fucking invite you. This is a book. You're not even, what are you doing here? Did you leave the door unlocked again, Jeremy?
Oh, man. Maybe that's the lesson for today's episode.
Lock the door.
But lock the door.
Keep HBO out.
Keep HBO out, for sure. So that's where we're going to wrap it up today.
Yeah.
That's some of the latest Dune news in the past couple of weeks and months that you should be caught up on if you're a fan,
right? Or
if you just want to be in the know in the Duneverse. Obviously, there is a lot of exciting Dune content to look forward to, not just in 2023 and not just stopping at Part 2, but beyond in 2024, 2025, etc.
Right.
It's never been a better time to hop on the Dune bandwagon, and we're excited that you're here with us. Hold on to something tight. This Ornithopter ride's going to get bumpy.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a lot of fun on the way.
Yeah, it's true.
Now, before we let you go, we do want to remind you of a couple of ways to support what we do here on Gom Jabbar and to keep in touch with us.
Indeed. First up, best way to support us, become a patron.
Yes.
Patreon.com/Gom Jabbar. That is really one of the main ways we are able to do this show. So if you are able to become a patron, please do. You get cool benefits in exchange. You get ad-free episodes, which is great. Nary an ad to be heard for the patron supporters.
Yeah.
We have some weekly blooper clips and an invite to our Discord server where you can bug me about all the Dune shit I bought and get my takes on everything. I think we're always happy to hop in and chat with people whenever they share memes and say hi. So it's cool.
Definitely.
It's fun. Yeah.
It's fun. Another great way to support us is to get yourself some Dune-themed merch from our store, GomJabbarShop.com.
Yes.
Not only do we have art, but we have apparel. We also have mugs, but it doesn't stop there, folks. We have a beautiful tote bag.
Yeah.
And so much more. So go check it out. Buy yourself something nice and support the podcast. Look at that. On the video version of this podcast, Leo is showing us one of the stickers you can buy from our store. So cool.
Looks good. Looks good. And finally, we love to hear from you. So hit us up. Send us an email. GomJabbarPodcast@gmail.com is the email address. We love to hear from you. Say hello. Say hi. Also, if you've got questions, feedback, if there's news topics we missed,
yes,
let us know. We're always happy to throw in a new topic. So let us know. GomJabbarPodcast@gmail.com. Say hi. Send us pictures of your pets, your favorite flavor of ice cream, your favorite Dune character you hope that Brian and Kevin write a book about. Whatever it is.
Yes.
Say hi. Our emails are always open because that's how emails work.
Right. But just make sure your email is consistent with Denis Villeneuve's vision.
Yeah, we will fucking recast you as the writer of that email.
Yes. We will halt the whole production, okay? If you get too auteur on us in that email.
Yeah. You better not.
Better not.
Fucking not.
We're watching you.
Johan Rank tried to email us. We deleted it. We blocked him.
Not even straight to spam.
No.
Straight to trash.
Straight to trash. We said, get your shit together. You think you're such hot shit after Chernobyl? Try directing a real show like Dune, Sisterhood. Maybe, oh shit. Maybe they said it wasn't consistent with the source material because it was too good. They're like, wait
a second.
down. This pilot's phenomenal. The
God
book's
damn.
shit. Are you kidding me?
You can't make it this good, Johan.
You make it way worse.
Get out of here, Rank. We didn't pay you to be good.
We didn't pay you to be good. We paid you to adapt this Brian book.
We're aiming for a solid 6 out of 10, goddammit. What is this 9 out of 10 work you've presented us?
A generous 6 out of 10. That's our goal. That's our goal.
Goddamn overachievers. How much did we pay him?
Too much.
Well, friends, there is no real ending. It's just the place where you stop the recording. But this podcast is always one step beyond logic, so help spread the word of Muad'Dib and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And be sure to check out the other shows on the Lore Party Podcast Network on loreparty.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at lore_party. We're also on TikTok at Gamjabar Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, whoever controls the podcast controls the universe. We'll see you on the Golden Path.